Okay, Mike, James Parker, how's it going, mate? Thanks for sending me your golf swing in. I appreciate it. Just spent the last few minutes looking at your move. You got a good move. Going through your questionnaire that you filled out for me. You've been playing a while. You're shooting about 82. Your average score is about 82. You play a lot of golf. You practice a lot of golf. You want to get down to get your handicap down from low teens to single digits, compete in more senior tournaments, and generally improve your ball striking and cut out your two shots that are getting you in trouble. And you've put down that your two shots are a push to the right, which would be a one which goes out there, right? And the other one being a hook, which ends up somewhere over here, right? So let's go through your swing and talk about what's going on, and how we can diagnose your swing into kind of connecting the dots so that we can figure out why you're pushing it out to the right and you're hooking it as well. So setup wise, there's straight away what sticks out to me, Mike, is ball positions back a little bit, right? And the camera angle's not too good. The camera angle's kind of coming in from over here instead of coming in kind of face on this way. So it's a little bit difficult to tell, but what it looks like to me if we zoom in here is the club face already is pointing off to the right. Right, so you can see that there, the club face is pointing off to the right. That's what it looks like to me. And also, you can see how the ball's positioned really quite far back in your stance. Right, so you're set up for a push. Right, you're set up for a push and a push draw. What you're complaining of is that it's you're overdoing it. Right, that's what you're complaining of. So. So if we kind of look down the line first, good takeaway, right? Hands moving inside. I really like that. Right leg straightening, left leg's flexing. Hands and the shaft kind of dissect through the base of your right bicep. I like that. Left shoulders move down because the left shoulder's underneath the right one, right? So that tells me you're left tilting. Good with the leg, like I said, good with the leg, right leg straight and left leg's flexed. And then as we start to come down, again, good pattern coming down with your hands and your arms, right? Now they're coming through the base of your bicep, right? But you can see how that club head starts to fall slightly below the bottom red line, not by much, right? Not by much, but just a little bit below the bottom red line, the bottom plane line there. And then as we're coming into the ball, you can see that club head's kind of just before impact there, right? It's still very much on the inside, right? And I'll pull you up next to someone like. Well, let me do that now, just to give you an example. Someone like maybe Billy Horschel, right, who comes down really, still slightly on the inside, right, but look how high his club head is just before impact, and look how it's only just fractionally on the inside, right, whereas you're really on the inside and really quite low to the ground, right. So I mean, that's a good picture there, right? If we stop there just before impact, so we can really see a few big things there, right? First one, like we talked about with the club's attacking the ball way too far from the inside. But why is it attacking the ball too far on the inside? We just haven't opened our turns enough, mate. So, if we get you to impact there, we get him to impact, right? So you can see how his shoulders and his hips are both pointing off to the left, right? Whereas I can still see a lot of your left shoulder, I can still see a lot of your left arm, right? Look how high your left arm is above your right arm. I can see here. Now the camera's different. Yeah, granted the camera's positioned differently, but I'm just using this as an example for you. So the point is, he's turned his body more, both his shoulders and his hips, right? So your shoulders are still pointing off to the right a little bit. Your hips are maybe back to square. But the pattern you see, now I'm not saying we need to get you into a position which resembles a PGA Tour player. I'm just giving you the averages of the PGA Tour pros, right? What we see, the patterns that these guys get into at impact. And what you generally start to see is at impact, they've turned their shoulders out the way about 30 degrees, and they've turned the hips out the way about 30 odd degrees, right? About. Everyone's a little different, but it's about 30 odd degrees, right? So you can see at impact there, you haven't even got your shoulders back to zero, right? You haven't even got your shoulders back to the position that they started in, right? So let's say there's your shoulders, right? We want your shoulders over here now at impact, right? We want your shoulders turning more than they were, right? So that's your zero position, right? Let's call that zero. So you don't even get your shoulders back to zero, look. So we want to get your shoulder, and you do a pretty good job post impact here. I know you said in your email that you're holding it, you're hinging and holding it, right? So that's pretty good. But where you are post impact there, it's sort of 7.5, 7.8, something like that, where you've obviously cleared your hips. So your hips are pointing over here, your shoulders are now pointing over here. We need to get you into that position at impact, mate. We need to get you into that position at impact. And then what you'll start to see is the path will be less into out, right? And then that will start to affect your ball flight. So that's kind of my diagnosis as to why you're pushing it. The hook happens. You know, the hook's always going to happen with good players when the path is so far into out, right? All that happens is the club face is going to have a tendency to roll over too much. The hands are going to turn over too much. And what I did notice about your follow-through position was how well you bowed that left wrist, right? So I'm paying attention to how well you're doing that with the left wrist. So that's definitely going to keep the blade more sort of passive, right? It's going to stop the toe turning over the heel so much. So that you do a really good job of that. But you can see even down to here, look, how your shoulders are pointing off to the right, right? But you've obviously taught yourself to hold on to that club, right? Keep that right wrist kind of bent through impact, right? And bow your left wrist. But with regards to how much you're turning, we need to turn harder coming down, definitely, which will then straighten the path up through impact, and you'll start to hit those little shots which just dead straight, or maybe just a fraction to the right, just like a little 1 yard, 2 yard push. That's what we're after. I think you've got the right idea, starting off with this being your shot cone, right, and just hitting shots in this shot cone. But like a lot of people, you're just overdoing it, right? You're now hitting shots 40 yards to the right from that position, whereas we need to learn to hit shots just a few yards to the right. So you've really got to feel as though you're turning harder coming down. All right. So that's kind of my diagnosis, right, as to why you're doing the things you're doing. I could talk about your swing for another 20 minutes, but I'd prefer to just get to the point, explain your issues a little bit. And then if we look at it from this way, so that's what that, you know, if we were coming in for a golf lesson, right, that's what you're doing. You're pushing it, you're hooking it. This is why you're pushing and hooking it. That's what I've oriented my thinking around. You know, that's how I've diagnosed the problems. So then what do we decide to do to change it, right? If we were working together in person, what would we do to change it straight away? Well, the first thing we'd do is I'd move your ball position forward, right? I'd have your ball position more just inside your left heel, right? So I'll put the stick there. I'd have the ball there, right? The second thing I'd do is I wouldn't have the club face. I wouldn't have the club face pointing off to the right as much, right? I'd maybe have the club face just very fractionally. Probably looks a little. Probably if you're used to doing that in your setup, it'll probably look as though you're, especially with the ball position more forward, it'll probably look as though the club face would be pointing more to the left now, right? Well, I don't want it pointing to the left. I just want it less. I just want you pointing it less to the right. Okay. So they're the first things I do. And then what we do is we would work on getting you the feeling of getting you in a better impact position, right? So we'd isolate your impact position, and then we'd maybe kind of practice from impact to just post impact. But you do a pretty good job post impact, right? You do a pretty good job there, right? You know, I'm actually quite happy with where you are there. You've turned really well, right? P8, which is right arm parallel with the ground. You know, the patterns are about 80 degrees turn with the shoulders, 80 degrees turn with the hips, and you do a really good job there, right? We're just a little lazy getting down to impact. We need to be clearing, like where your club is there, right? And you can see how your shoulders are turned out the way, your hips are turned out the way. You need to get your body in that position when the club's hitting the ball, right? So a good way of doing that would be a smash bag, right? So I'd maybe get my smash bag out. I'd put that just in front there, and we'd practice smashing the bag, smashing the bag, smashing the bag. But you can see as you come down to impact, I don't want your body, particularly your upper body, still pointing over there to the right, right? That's not what we want to be doing. The patterns of the pros have their shoulders and their hips pointing off to the left, right? So when you see a pro at impact, you can start to see a little bit of his left butt cheek, right? Can't see any of your left butt cheek at impact, okay? So maybe get a smash bag out, and if you've got one of those, you can pick one of those up off Amazon for like 10, 15 bucks, something like that. So that would be a good drill for you. You can practice it at home as well, right? Get it up against a wall, fill the bag with some old jumpers or towels or something. Turn your club upside down, that helps as well. And then just practice smashing the bag, making sure that your belt buckle's past the ball at impact, your chest is past the ball at impact, so it gives you the feeling of hips and shoulders pointing more left. Right, and that'll change your path, the ball position, changing the club face at impact, and then getting your turns out the way at impact. That'll completely change your path, right? So that'll cut out your push, and it's big. And the reason you're hooking it is because of the path being too far in as well. You just need that club face slightly too closed at impact, and then you get that big hook. So the hook will start to disappear as well. Additionally, after that, I know you said in you put down in your questionnaire that you're not happy with your transition and your sequencing, and yeah, I mean I think I have an idea of what you're talking about there, right? So let's pull up another model. Grant Waite. Right. So, first thing, number one, look at his ball position. Right, just inside your left heel. Right. That's the first thing. That's a good visual image for you. But then as he starts moving, look, as he starts going from P1 to P2, there's a change of knee flex, right? So you can see how that right knee, so there, I'll do this in green. So there, the kind of the shoulder, the knees are level. By the time he gets to P2, he's already starting to change the knee flex, look. So the right leg's starting to straighten up, the left leg's starting to flex, right? And the other thing is, look how he's kept his head against that blue line at the top. So he's kept his left ear on the blue line, right? He gets up to the top. And then, and yes, it's to do with how he's kind of positioned his legs. His knees are kind of set out a little bit more, kind of pushed out a little bit more, right? His toes are definitely flared out a little bit more than yours. His feet are also a little bit wider. So you could definitely work on that a little bit. But what I want you to pay attention to is his. What I want you to additionally learn is to transfer your pressure earlier in your backswing, and this will help you stay centered, right? And this will help you keep your head centered. So what do I mean by that, right? Well, you can see how he's changed his knee flex, right? So from P1 to P2, because that right leg straightening, the right leg straightening is it's straightening because he's pushing down into the ground with his right foot, right? He's pushing down into the ground with his right foot. Now, from about here, right, so you can see now that we can just start seeing the club head, right? So as the club head is starting to move, and this is what I've been doing a lot with a lot of clients, a lot of students, and it's working really well for them. But you've got to learn it and you've got to time it properly. And the way to do it is, as soon as the club head starts moving back towards the target, right, which is, maybe past P2 up to about P2.5 there, and then the club head starts moving back towards the target. As soon as the club starts moving back towards the target, start to gradually push down under this lead foot, right? So that would be a good way of thinking about it. And then when you get to the top, right, we've already established pressure back under our lead foot, and then as we start down, right, we're putting the maximum amount of force in the lead foot, right? So that would be a good way of thinking about it. What I'm seeing in your swing is, as you start taking it away, there's a lot of upper body movement, right? So there's a lot of shoulder, what we call shoulder sway, and that moves your head, right? And then as you do that, there's also some lower body sway. You watch your right pocket and your right hip, how that's moving outside that blue line, right? And you can see how that left hip is moving away from the blue line. And then you stay on your right side all the way there. You stay on your right side, 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 stay on your right side. What I'm saying is, by this point, right, at the top of your swing, you should have already established pressure, the bias of pressure under your feet, back under your lead foot. And then what you do to start down is, yes, you start transferring your weight, which means the mass, meaning the center of your hips, start moving towards the target, right? So you've got that, you do that, so you can tick that off the box. You do a good job doing that. But it's the pressure, right? It's the pressure which you're lacking. Now, if we stop you there at P5 and we look at Grant Waite at P5, look at how he's got this left knee out in front of him. How he's got this left leg kind of like this, kind of like he's pushing down and he's squatting. Whereas what you've got is your left knee still banked back that way, right? Here's his forward this way, right? So what I'm saying is, even at this point, I don't think you've got enough pressure underneath your left foot, right? Even though the weight's moving, we still need to deliberately push down under your lead foot, okay? So I think if we learn to transfer our pressure earlier in our backswing, learn to transfer our pressure onto our lead foot earlier in our backswing, that will help you stay centered, all right? So if you can practice, keeping your head between that red and blue line, and just pushing down under your right foot to get to P2 instead of swaying, then from P2 to P4 to the top, really all you're doing is you're working on putting the bias back under the lead foot, and then as you start down there, right, you can really push down under that lead foot, right? The maximum amount of force is going to be under the lead foot now at P5, right? And then obviously that has a knock-on effect, right? The pushing down into the ground is going to cause you to drive your hips and turn your hips. The turning of the hips is going to cause you to turn your torso and your shoulders. Your shoulders is then going to cause you to pull the arms and the club down. And then before you know it, you've created this kind of angle, right? So you've got some lag. Now, what I'm seeing as you come down to P5, is you're starting to throw the lag away, right? So all this, improving your footwork, staying centered, and improving your footwork is then going to have a knock-on effect through your body, which then affects your lag as well. So you're gonna hit it further as well. There's no question about that. And also, it's going to help you improve your golf swing, because you're going to have you're not going to sway your shoulders and your hips away from the target on the backswing, right? So you can see how your hips and your shoulders are kind of moving away from the target. You look at the pros, they actually move their hips and their shoulders towards the target on the backswing. Right, so you can see at the top now, if we do this in green, right, we look at the top of his shoulders there, that's actually closer to the target now. If we look at the top of your shoulders, you're actually further away than when you started, right? So this is what I'm talking about. That's with regards to the centeredness of your movement pattern. We just want to keep it more simple so that you can strike the ball better, and you've got a better chance of coming in straighter with the club head. Okay, Mike. So that's that's the last sort of 5 minutes of what I just spoke about there with regards to the transition and the head movement, staying centered. They're all things that I would want to work on moving forward, right? If you wanted to have some more golf lessons, the first things like I would concentrate on would be aim the face less to the right at the setup, move the ball position forward. Move the ball position further forward like that, and then at impact, we want to have turned out the way a bit more, right? We want to have turned out the way a bit more so we can still see your shoulders pointing off to the right. We need your shoulders pointing left. We also need your hips pointing left, right? So that a good drill for that would be a smash bag. Just practice smashing a bag and practice turning out the way. Okay, mate. Hope that helps. If you have any questions or comments, just shoot me over an email or a text message or something like that, and I'll get back to you when I can. Cheers, Mike.